The year is 24 BC on the coast of Sicily. The Roman Republic is locked in a brutal war with Carthage, and an enormous naval battle is imminent. Before giving the order to attack, Roman consul Publius Claudius Pulcher has to consult the sacred chickens. It is his official duty to offer the birds grain and divine the will of the gods, based entirely on how they eat. The chickens refuse to touch the food. It is a terrible omen. Pulcher loses his temper, grabs the cages, and shouts, "If they will not eat, let them drink," before hurling the birds into the Mediterranean Sea. The omens proved prescient. Pulcher sailed into an ambush, losing nearly his entire fleet to the Carthaginian navy. He was summoned back to Rome to face trial, with the charges focusing on the religious crime of ignoring the chickens. For thousands of years, the chicken was a revered oracle, capable of deciding the fate of empires. Today, it is a shrink-wrapped grocery store commodity. To trace how this animal fell from the altar to the meat aisle, we have to go back 3,500 years into the dense, tropical forests of Southeast Asia. The ancestor of every chicken on Earth is the red junglefowl. It is a small, shy, brightly colored bird that spends its days foraging in the underbrush and flies up into the tree canopy at night to avoid predators. Humans and the junglefowl largely ignored each other until around 1500 BC, when farmers in what is now Thailand began planting dry rice. Early farmers did not capture these birds. The junglefowl willingly stepped out of the forest edge to eat the scattered grain. Over generations, they grew comfortable around human settlements in a quiet, mutual arrangement. This coexistence brought the birds into the center of early human life. They were integrated into the village as cultural fixtures, valued for reasons that would define their role for the next 3,000 years. In ancient Zoroastrianism, this animal was known as the Persian bird. Its morning crow was believed to be a sacred act of fighting back the forces of darkness. The Greeks used cockfighting as a martial example to teach young warriors about bravery, while the Romans elevated the bird into official state religion, appointing specialized priests to read their behavior. When the chicken finally reached Iron Age Europe, it commanded such respect that people didn't eat them. Archaeologists have found them buried entirely intact alongside humans, placed there as spiritual companions for the afterlife. For millennia across multiple continents, the chicken possessed deep spiritual and martial value, keeping it almost entirely off the dinner table. The decline of the bird's sacred status happened at a crawl. Over centuries, it transitioned into a backyard egg layer, and eventually a luxury item for Sunday dinner, famously championed by King Henry IV's promise of a chicken in the pot. The catalyst for mass production arrived with World War II. Beef and pork were heavily rationed for the troops, creating a desperate nationwide demand for domestic protein. To solve the meat shortage, the USDA and A&P supermarkets teamed up in 1945 to launch a national initiative called the Chicken of Tomorrow contest. This was a high-stakes competitive race to breed a completely new type of bird. Farmers were tasked with engineering a biological organism that grew faster and carried significantly more breast meat than any natural chicken. Two breeders, Charles Vantris and a teenager named Henry Saglio, produced heavily engineered, massive white birds that won the competition and provided the genetic blueprint for the modern broiler. The templates created by Vantris and Saglio forced the creation of a new supply chain. Their success led directly to the vertical integration of poultry farming, the construction of factory floor slaughterhouses, and the widespread use of growth antibiotics to keep pace with the bird's rapid development. To see the physical consequences of that 1945 contest, we can look at a 2005 experiment by the University of Alberta. This chart shows the baseline weight of a 1957 chicken breed, alongside a slightly larger 1978 breed. But when we add the 2005 bird, the data violently shoots upward, reaching over 4,000 grams in just 47 days, 4 times the mass of its 1957 counterpart. This explosive growth carries a heavy biological cost. The modern chicken skeleton simply cannot support its manufactured muscle mass. As a result, the animals suffer from severe lameness, frequent heart failure, and compromised immune systems. The operational reality of these engineered traits is entirely static. Even when considered completely healthy, A modern industrial broiler is forced to spend 76% of its short life simply lying on the floor. This globe visualization tracks the staggering scale of the poultry industry today, quickly filling with data points that represent the 74 billion chickens slaughtered every single year. At any given moment, there are 33 billion alive, making it the most mass-produced animal in history. Yet, the original red junglefowl still exists. Right now, its wild ancestors dart through Southeast Asian forests, completely independent of human intervention. We took an animal out of the forest, stripped away its biological realities, and rebuilt its anatomy to serve a single, highly mechanized industrial purpose. The sacred oracle that once held the power to cancel a Roman war fleet has been systematically engineered down into a 6-week meat machine.